The biggest challenge facing critical infrastructure today is that 15 years ago, nobody cared about security of critical infrastructure. I mean, people did, but it really wasn't acted on. And so now we have a ton of fielded devices that have all these security problems, and they're easily hacked, they're easily taken advantage of and messed with. And so we're trying to solve both tomorrow's security problems for software and devices that we're fielding today, as well as fixing the problems from 10, 15 years ago. Memory safety in embedded systems is a huge problem. If you look at the stats for industrial control systems, about 70% of all vulnerabilities are memory safety related, and about 70% of those are higher critical, and 72% of those have a remote access vector. So, gone are the days of needing to be physically next to a device in critical infrastructure to impact it. A lot of them can be exploited remotely. And so these really high severity bugs that are very persistent and pervasive across control systems, devices are largely these memory safety vulnerabilities. And to make matters worse, they take forever to fix. On average, they live in devices for anywhere from 2 to 5 years, although we see examples like Urgent 11 and Ripple 20 where that vulnerable code has been shipped in millions of devices for years, right? I think Urgent 11 was 13 or 14 years, something like that. And so they can live a long time. They take forever to get a patch out the door. I think the average time is 6 months from disclosure of vulnerability to a patch by the device manufacturer. And then you've got whatever window after that for an asset owner to deploy that patch, which can dwarf that 6-month window entirely. So really solving that root cause or preventing those memory safety vulnerabilities from being exploitable in the first place can save a bunch of pain downstream of that software or that device being vulnerable. I think the biggest misconception that people have about securing embedded systems is that there's no security solutions available, or anything I'm going to deploy is going to break my system, mess up my plant. And in some cases that's true, right? You can't deploy a traditional antivirus or a next-gen antivirus to a PLC or to some other control system. But there are security solutions such as RunSafe that can be applied to those devices with the help of the device manufacturers, obviously. But then you can actually get security there. But so many people think there's no solution for securing embedded devices, that's really not true. And the other thing I think people have a big misconception about is how much trouble it is to deploy these security solutions. There are definitely some companies out there that are trying to do some AI-based, behavioral analysis of control systems. And those can be a lot of problems because if the AI gets something wrong, whatever you're doing in that critical infrastructure is going to be impacted in a negative way. And so getting that fine-tuned is really hard. And so most companies that we've talked to that have tried any of those solutions abandon it because it just doesn't work well. But, more traditional approaches that aren't AI-based can be really effective and easily deployed by device manufacturers and can be invisible to those asset owners on the other end. And so that's something that's really important too, is as we think about securing critical infrastructure devices, no device manufacturer wants to add security and then add a whole bunch of cognitive load to the water treatment facility, the manufacturing plant, the oil and gas, operators, because that's going to be increased costs and that's not going to, really do well for their sales of their devices. So you've got to come up with solutions and deploy solutions that don't increase that cognitive load, which is something that RunSafe does really well. RunSafe protects against vulnerabilities and runtime attacks against memory corruption vulnerabilities like buffer overflows, heap use after freeze, things like that, by reordering all the code in memory. So traditional attacks against compiled code against embedded devices need to know exactly where that code is in memory. And so what we do is every time the device boots, every time a program is run, we reorder all the code in memory. So an attacker from the outside has no way of knowing where that code actually ended up. and therefore they can't build reliable exploits that are going to take over the device or influence the device in whatever way they want to, because they can't execute code on the device. RunSafe integrates really easily for device manufacturers and software developers, and that's one of our core tenets. We want to make sure that we don't break anything for customers, and we also want to make sure that we're really easy to integrate, because we've seen far too many times security get pushed to the wayside because a release has to go out the door, or people don't even think about it. So we've built kind of two really easy ways to integrate our solutions. One, we have our platform offering where users can connect directly to their Git repositories with a few clicks, and the security gets baked into that software that's being built automatically. There might be a couple manual steps here and there, but it's really straightforward. It gets committed into the repo, and at that point, you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm gonna do a release. Did I do the security thing right? It's just baked in automatically. And then the other approach is for our customers that are on disconnected networks, and we have that in the DoD and in commercial with some folks that really take security seriously. And that you can just install some packages, make a one-line change to your build, and you get all the security that RunSafe provides in a really simple manner. So most of our customers do an integration in half an hour, maybe an hour. They spend more time testing and just making sure everything still works than they will doing the actual integration themselves. At the end of the day, we understand, because of our background in vulnerability research, in embedded device security, embedded device development, we understand the performance needs, we understand the limited resources available on embedded devices, and we've really focused on building solutions that don't slow down developers, don't slow down the embedded devices that we're protecting, and don't add this huge cognitive load to asset owners, people that are fielding these devices. And so we can have kind of a really smooth integration and a really smooth deployment for end users, and not really disrupt anything that they're already doing today. And they don't even have to, asset owners don't even have to know that we're there. They should be asking for security, but we make it so smooth that they shouldn't have to worry about this security solution. They just get to reap the benefits when they don't get exploited.